Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on, this is 6th of May? Yeah, 6th of May. Well, it's primary election day in Ohio. Let's put it that way. It's Tuesday, 2014. And it's around 2:30 in the afternoon, Eastern Daylight Time. So, obviously there's Paul. He is electing to not join me in the making of this video right now. Perhaps he'll wander over later. We'll see. Now today, as I said, was primary election day. And we went up and voted in the party primary of our choice. It seems that Paul claims that he omitted to vote for this county committee woman who had been, coming up here and soliciting our votes. Well, he says he didn't see it on his ballot. It's what we have one of these. We have these electronic touchscreen things, and it was the last candidate on the ballot before we got to the issues. We had two issues. We had a state bond issue, and we had a one of these county health Nazi issues. The you can't smoke and we're going to tell you how to live crowd. Needless to say, I voted against both of those. Anyway, so Mary Ann Hildebrand didn't get but one vote out of this household, although I had sort of promised her two. Well, that's okay. Well, if you didn't see her, you didn't see her, honey. I mean, that's just, you can only vote for what you see. I've often wondered if I'm seeing the complete ballot sometimes myself, sometimes. At least you can generate a hard copy that you can read as you vote, Oh, okay. I don't know, maybe they just pull that thing out and just throw it in the trash when they're done. I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know. I think, I know a couple of people on that Board of Elections, and they're pretty honest people. Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see who wins these things. Needless to say, we didn't vote for that lying so-and-so John Kasich, even though he was running unopposed. But, I like to, even if people are running unopposed, I will click on them if I like them. But, there's no way I'm going to click on John Kasich for anything other than, get out of office.
Yeah.
After his 1993 anti-gun vote in the House of Representatives, providing the 218th vote for that idiotic 1993 gun bill that happened during Clinton's administration. After having sent out a letter saying he would never vote against, people being able to own guns. That's called a lie. Well, it's at least called being very disingenuous. Let's put it that way. And then Mike DeWine, who's just one of the most hateful people I've ever seen come down the road. And I didn't click on him. And then we have this guy named David Yost, who's the auditor, and he's all these guys are unopposed. And This guy was our county prosecutor for a while before he became state auditor. I mean, he is good Lord. It's like, just because he's in my party or affiliated with the party I vote with. I mean, see, the thing about Delaware County is it's a Republican county. And if you don't vote in the Republican primary, you essentially aren't going to have any chance to influence who wins.
What backstabber makes it?
It'd be, it's kind of like if you're in the South, I'd be voting in the Democratic primary because that's, locally the Democrats win down south. Not so much in the state elections anymore, but locally they do. And so you'd want to vote in the Democratic primary so you could have a say. It's one of those things. So we went up there. Now I'll tell you, this morning I was feeling very, very, very unsteady on my feet. I felt unsteady yesterday too. This morning I felt really unsteady to the point that Paul even spontaneously offered to drive up to the election place, and I was very grateful he offered that because I was seriously considering not going. That's how bad off I felt. And seeing as how people have died so we can vote, I take this all very seriously. So we got home. We all voted. I can't say it was a crowded venue.
It was vacant.
We had about 2 or 3. Well, you had like the poll workers, and I think we were the only 2 there for a while, weren't we?
Yeah. I had to wake mine up to find it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I will say I'm seeing new poll people now. When we first moved up here, we had a cadre of, quite older people, which is fine. Over the years, one of these women became completely demented. And but she's now disappeared for about it's been about 5 or 6 years since we've seen her, isn't it? Yeah. You say about that? 6, 7 years? Yeah.
And her husband.
Well, her husband's okay. He had to sort of keep her in line toward the end. But
he had to tell her what she was supposed to be doing.
Well, he had to tell her a lot of stuff. But these 2 people today who signed me in, I hadn't seen them before. They were very reasonable, and they have 2 guys. They give you a slip of paper, and you're supposed to go over to a guy, and he takes your little ticket, and then he goes over to the electronic machine, and he's got this little thing he sticks in the hole, and calls up the ballot, because you got.
I've never used this.
Well, the orange, the Orange D precinct ballot, which they have to do it by precinct because some of the local issues are like liquor issues are by precinct. Now we didn't have any in Orange D. Actually, I don't think we've ever had a liquor issue in Orange D. You remember ever having one? No, all the drinkers are farther east of us. Well, west of us, actually. Well, except for here. We don't have to have a vote on this. So, it's always fun to go vote. I always enjoy going to vote. And thank you very much, sir. That was very kind of you to put that noise in there. It's just splendid today. We've been out on the deck, and we've been yakking and reminiscing and laughing and having a great time. I'm clearly now feeling much better than this morning. Although gosh, what? Well, sometimes that happens. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. And as God told St. Paul, in 2 Corinthians 12, my grace is sufficient unto thee. So I always try to remember that and hold on to that when I have one of these days. So, Well, so actually, I watched Paul's nephew and my honorary nephew's video this morning, Ed, and watched Ed's video, and he did this. That was a great video. It was 31 minutes long. It was very nice. It was one of these great videos where just he and Chantel were sitting there shooting the breeze, and I mean, it's, this man is so like his dad in terms of his sense of humor, and it's great. It's just absolutely great, and he put these little, what are they called? I don't know what's the term for these things that they put around, that women used to put on ponytails, Well, this actually was like some sort of spiral metallic band, and he put that on two corners of his beard. He looked like, if you ever have seen renditions of Blackbeard the pirate in history books, he could set that thing on fire, and he looked like Blackbird in one of those pictures. Very, very effective image. Very effective image. All he needs now is sort of like the tri-cornered hat or the pirate hat. Perhaps we'll see that in a later video with Ed. Maybe even with maybe even with a smoking beard. No houses were burnt down in the filming of this video. Well, gosh, what else do we horse around with today, Paul?
I'm going and
Try to stay alive. That's always trying to stay vertical. That's always a good thing.
That's very much it.
Well, okay, that's. I did want to remark. We saw a Prius go by on the road here. Now, obviously, it wasn't making quite as much noise as the guy that buzzed by here earlier. But unlike the guy that buzzed by earlier, he was actually driving a truck, and it looked like a very reasonable vehicle. This Prius, of course, is one of those little ugly. I mean, it is uglier even than a Saab. Uglier even than a Saab. Now Saab's gone out of the business of making automobiles, which is understandable given that, they were the ugliest cars in the world. Now it's surpassed in ugliness by the Prius. Now I've not sat in a Prius, so I don't know how it tends your nuts and dick. But I can tell you, from having sat in a BMW and in a Saab, if you're a guy period, just doesn't matter if you've got a big set of balls or a big dick, or just, if you have anything that makes you a guy, and you sit in one of those seats for any length of time, there's going to be some serious doubt about whether you're a guy after a 6 or 7 hour drive.
Because you're wadded up.
Oh, because you're wadded up. You're wadded up. It's awful. It's just god awful. And one of the most awful days I ever spent was riding around North Carolina. No, actually, where was that mall? No, we drove to Myrtle Beach. My buddy's wife, my now deceased buddy's wife, drove me down to Myrtle Beach one day. Well, oh God, that was just,
She always drove.
what a god awful day. Well, no, Brad wasn't with us.
Yeah, she always drove.
Well, she had to drive because it's her car. But it was a BMW, and Oh man! And the goal of the trip was to go to some outlet mall that had a store that had remnant pottery that would match her wedding set. Some sort of wedding plate set. And we're sitting outside Myrtle Beach in traffic that is bumper to bumper and lined up. It took about 3 hours. First of all, it takes a while to get down from Laurinburg to Myrtle Beach.
Or you went in season.
Well, hell, I mean, you're there. What are you going to do? You mean you're the guest? You have to, do the old shuffle and bow. So, oh man, sitting in this god awful traffic, and her car overheated like 3 times. I mean, it just shut down in traffic because it overheated.
It stopped running.
Yeah, it just shut down.
I would have got out and shot it.
Oh well, contemplating acts of violence is very therapeutic, but to actually do the acts of violence is not. Well, it could be, but only very transiently, because then the state will do acts of violence to you.
That's true.
Oh man. Well, meanwhile, we're in these seats, which, as I understand, some people call Rococo seats. Well, they'll just be called castrating devices, as far as I'm concerned.
It's like sitting in a funnel.
Oh, it's awful. It's just awful. It's just terrible. No wonder no wonder guys who drive these cars drive them fast, because they want to get the hell off those seats as soon as possible. That's just, because you can't, a guy, even a guy that doesn't have a lot of junk, can't sit in these seats. That's just the fact of the matter. Well, there, that's today's little expatiation, as we say. So I'm going to give you a view of Paul here, and then I'm going to say bye-bye. Say bye-bye, Paul.
Bye-bye, guys. See you later.